It every summer.
Yeah, I mean, not a week or.
This time for 2 months. So I'm
Yeah, I know, but I might just get you your own personal one.
Oh, you're right. I'm gonna have it with me at all times.
Lose it. No, we'll get him one of the hip things.
He's still worried about it.
I learned you're actually neighbors with a good friend of mine.
Which one?
Raven and Jerry. Gretch.
They still think he's cool.
So Raven was on the HOA.
Tried to put 3 of those here.
Penn State. She's starting the LEAP program. So I'm all set. CNET is set. If staff and Planning Commission and Board CRPA is all ready to go, I will go ahead and call to order the Board of Supervisors special joint meeting with the Planning Commission for Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. And I don't know if the manager had any, no, okay.
I do.
Yes.
You're here with my children.
Great, so we'll move straight to our topic of discussion, which is the presentation and discussion on the Center Region Comprehensive Plan, and I will turn it over to Mike Tilka, Director of Center Region Plan Agency.
I appreciate that, Chair, and good afternoon, supervisors and planning commissioners. It's so nice to meet you. I did bring a number of the CRPA staff members with me today, some new faces for you, but also some that have been around for quite a while. I'll start on the far side. Steve Arnold's our GIS specialist. He started out with Penn State, then when we brought JS in-house, he came in-house. He was actually part of the last 2 comprehensive plans. So we're excited to have him as part of the third. It balances out our team with the long-term knowledge and then kind of the newer members. Sustainability is housed within the CRPA, so that's why you're seeing Pam Adams here with us today. Jenna Wargo is now our principal planner in CRPA. And then we have Summer Brown, who's our planner in CRPA. And then we have our intern, James, in CRPA. And I wanted to bring him along today because he'll be working on the outreach efforts related to the comprehensive plan with us through the summer. And we know it's a resource that we have right in our backyard, and we want to use it. All right, so the presentation today is in 2 parts. The first part is a review of the regional planning program. So I will pause at that point and open it up for questions and answers on that. Then the second part is the overview of the comprehensive plan, which the supervisors did see at general forum, but will be new to the planning commissioners. All right, so let's start at the very beginning. Regional planning actually predates the COG. There was an earlier agreement between 3 municipalities for a regional planning and the Regional Planning Commission. And later on, when the COG Articles of Agreement were formed, additional municipalities did join that regional planning program as time went on. So there is a strong foundation of regional planning between the municipalities within the center region. So the next part. Well, if we have a regional planning agency, what the heck are we going to do? We're going to plan. So there's a number of long-range plans that are housed within our department. These plans are all rooted in the foundation that planning itself, helps communities anticipate and address challenges such as population growth, economic development, and environmental conservation. I know being on a planning commission, you all find planning important, but I'm just going to start at the foundation for those watching that may be unfamiliar. So within planning, by guiding development in a strategic manner, planning aims to create livable, sustainable, and resilient communities. It ensures that development occurs in a logical and organized manner, preventing haphazard growth and minimizing conflicts between land uses. Another item we'll speak about is the efficient use of resources. By identifying areas suitable for different types of development, planning optimizes the use of land, water, and infrastructure. Addressing community needs is also important, as planning provides a framework for communities to articulate their goals and aspirations. It is to guide decision-making to meet those needs effectively, the needs of our community. Sustainable growth is ensured through comprehensive planning, as communities can balance those economic, social, and environmental factors to achieve long-term sustainability. So that's just some of the foundational aspects that we assume and we create plans to address. So we have different scales and tiers of plans. The first being county plans. These are broad in nature with many general goals. So some examples include the county's comprehensive plan, the long-range transportation plan at the MPO, various recreation greenway plans. There's even a broadband strategic plan at the county level, a county-level housing plan. We then get into those multi-municipal plans that are consistent with those county-level plans. These can involve 1 or 2 different municipalities. I know you've seen some of those in Ferguson in the past. This is where our comprehensive plan falls. The Act 537 plan that we'll talk about a little bit more. The Climate Action and Adaptation Plan housed in COG, Center Regional Bike Plan. And then you have those municipal ones that get into that granular level of detail with the greatest level of specificity within that municipality. And typically those are really focused on one issue. Those could be pedestrian facilities, affordable housing, open space, corridor study, things of that nature. So it's worth noting that some of those plans are required and others are voluntary. I'll get into more details on a few of those as we progress. Any good plan, especially the ones from your regional planning agency, should cover where are we now, where do we want to be, how do we get there? In summary, to really stress a particular point, these plans should provide guidance to the municipalities and can outline actions or policies that you can implement. Our goal at the Regional Planning Agency is that we are creating documents that you can stand on when you have to make tough decisions. These should be defense mechanisms for you, because you can point to this plan and say, this is where we decided with broad public outreach that this is where we wanted to go. And I've seen other councils and boards use that as their defense mechanism when you have a room of people and you have to make a tough choice. Plan should allow you to make tough choices because you have the resources and the energies and the outreach that has gone into creating that plan. And if I have to say what a comprehensive plan is in one phrase, it's a shared community vision. So let's look at the CRPA's regional planning program. The most important task is the creation, maintenance, and implementation of the comprehensive plan, reviewing proposals for the regional source service area, implementing and updating the Act 537 storage facilities plan. A number of multi-municipal and regional studies, some of those you've seen in the past, the REDCap, so that's the Regional Development Capacity Report, State of Housing Report. There's even one on the sustainability of agriculture in the region report. Best practice guides, topic-specific toolkits, fact sheets, so many more resources. Now, a number of these resources are starting to get a little dated with the staffing issues in CRPA over the last couple years. Myself and the newly installed members of the team and the members that have been with us for a bit, one of our tasks to do in the coming months is to analyze those reports to see which ones need to be updated, then bring a list to you of where to make sure that they are going to be a utilized resource for you, and then what ones need to go a step further. A good example is the REDCap report identifies those areas that are undeveloped, but it doesn't go a step further in are there particular issues holding up that? Because we want that resource to be an accurate representation of land that can be easily developed and cannot be. And so perhaps we tier that into easily developed and not easily developed. We need to provide more resources to you. And now that we're staffed up, we find that, well, that's our plan. And in this morning, and I'll get into it later, I presented to the municipal managers a proposal to get the regional planning program, the number of full-time equivalents that it used to have in 22 and 23 back so that we are fully staffed and we can do more than the core agreement-related service, required services that I'll get into. All right. So a number of the items we also do is plan review. Instead of your plans being reviewed by the county for compliance with the comprehensive plan, those go to the CRPA. We provide staff report to the Land Use and Community Infrastructure Committee and then the Center Regional Planning Commission. Your representative is here and we are thrilled to have her. We should be offering trainings. That's something the CRPA has historically done, and we are in the, well, we're rebuilding those. Our staff has already rebuilt one and presented it to Patton Township Planning Commission. And then we should be working on cooperative solutions to regional programs. I'm excited with the staff that we have in place now because we all know that housing is a major issue. So I'm hoping, my goal and my vision is that the Regional Planning Commission takes a larger effort, leadership role in facilitating that regional housing conversation. All right. So on to the next one. The comprehensive plan's the most important document, but what's the close second? Well, it's the Act 537 plan. So what is that for those unfamiliar? Well, in 1966, the Pennsylvania Storage Facility Act 537 was enacted to address existing sewage disposal problems and prevent future problems. To meet these objectives, the Act requires proper planning of all types of storage facilities, permitting of individual and community on-lot disposal systems. The administration of this plan can be a joint effort, as ours is. This is one of those multi-municipal plans I spoke about. This plan defines the sewer service area within the center region that will be served by public sewers. So what we've done with this as a region is pull our resources together to make this required plan happen on the regional level and be administrated to that degree, the plan itself on the regional level. So this plan also includes plans for the improvements to UAJA's facilities and systems, as well as requirements for on-lot septic areas outside of that source service area. This plan can be amended through conducting special studies, and a number of amendments have occurred thus far. We will be under greater pressure to have an overhaul, an update of that plan once the comprehensive plan does go through. So that'll be a larger point of discussion as we go through the comprehensive plan update. So once we have plans, well, what do we want to do? What good is a plan sitting on a shelf, right? We want to create plans that are implementable. I have been doing a lot of reading on implementable plans in the past couple years. Again, what's the point of spending money on something that you're not going to use as a resource and that's not going to be implemented? So your implementation strategy is quite important. This needs to be that usable resource, and I won't repeat myself. I think I've repeated enough to drive home that point. But having that input to create that shared community vision, create something that we can stand on in a unified vision. Metrics are something that we want to focus on with this comprehensive plan because we want to be able to track our progress as we go through the implementation of the plan. And we want to make sure that they can be revised or revisited to some degree. So we want to make sure this future comprehensive plan is broad enough that it's setting that broad direction, but maybe the exact ordinance you write to address that won't be so prescribed as it's been in the past and as used to be the case with a lot of comprehensive plan. Implementation is not just the Planning Commission's responsibility. It should be all the different boards, partners, staff, and most of the times the community at large to implement this. So how do we make sure we're tracking our implementation? Well, we develop annual work plans. In the past, the Regional Planning Agency created a CHIP, so the Comprehensive Improvement Plan implementation, we'll call it, it's the work plan. So what task are we going to do as the Regional Planning Agency to make sure that this plan is being implemented? So that goes through review of the various committees where there's representation from all of our municipalities on that, and all of our work tasks are related to something. So if we say, you know, this measure of housing is something we're calling on our comp plan, well, our work plan needs to speak to that, and we'll prioritize that with the input of the various committees as we go forward. With these plans, when you adopt new plans, you obviously want to make sure there's regulatory consistency. So if we have a plan that says one thing, but all of our municipal rules and regulations say another things, well, we have a problem. So when that new plan is put in place, if indeed it is that shared community vision that we hope it to be once it gets to that level of adoption, we want to make sure that as partners, we're all looking to ensure consistency with our own plans and goals as we move forward. And we also want to make sure that we are applying the comprehensive plan's goals and strategies to future policies that affect land use and development. If we say we want a mix of uses and smaller setbacks, well, then we need to make sure municipal saldos and local zoning ordinances are in alignment. An example that I think Jenna's used in other places is if we're going to call for complete streets, well, we need to install sidewalks, right? That's one part of it. If we want to be multimodal, we don't want to, you know, in one hand say we want this and the other hand wave something, right? The early conversation I've always had with new planners is we can't build the city or the region in one day. Incrementalism isn't a bad word in planning. And that might be a longer discussion or another topic. All right, so moving along here. Circling back to that source service area I mentioned that is part of the Act 537 plan. Well, we've been talking about implementation tools. So what is one of our tools of implementation from comp plan objectives merged with the Act 537 and source service area agreement? Well, our source service area boundary is linked to our regional growth boundary. That source service area is what gives our regional growth boundary teeth. So that drives the density in the urban, certain levels of suburban growth within that growth boundary. And what does that help? Well, the comprehensive plan called out, we want to be able to support transit. What supports transit? Well, a little bit of density, right? So that growth boundary ensures a certain level of density occurs within, which is where we can do our transit planning, because that was called out in the comprehensive plan, multimodal, right? We don't want to only have one mode of transportation. So I just want to stress how important that regional growth boundary is, and then again, adding another degree of how important it is to have those two linked together, because again, that gives us the teeth. And your municipalities can also support these various efforts, again, through your local regulations. And the areas outside of that regional growth boundary, we're generally zoned for low-density forest, agriculture, and things of the like, which we know goes into other comprehensive plan ideas in the past that, look at agriculture preservation. And I'm looking out your window right now, and there's a great view and vista, and we know how many people find that important as one of the many items they do. All right, so moving on to the next slide here. Our regional growth boundary and source service area do have an implementation agreement. So obviously agreements are one form of how we get things accomplished through implementation. It outlines the process to expand that regional growth boundary, and it outlines that 5 of those 6 municipalities must vote in favor, including the host municipality, and it goes through a pretty rigorous process. It's not common to see many of those a year, maybe every so many years. This year, it's likely that we will see 2. And that process is known as the development of regional impact, and it, again, presents that process to expand that growth boundary, and obviously that then creates urban soar in those areas where it was not in the past. All right, so you've heard me use the CRPA a few times. What's the CRPC? Well, that's our Regional Planning Commission. We have 1 representative from each municipality. I already thanked and called out your member. Penn State is also a voting member on that board. Neil Selivet, the campus planner, has been appointed to that, and he's currently serving in our vice chair role this year. Their roles and responsibilities are before you on the screen. They're charged with making recommendations on that regional level, so they will see a variety of topics. Your Terrace Streetscape District was just brought before your staff a little bit ago, before the Regional Planning Commission, and I got comments on the regional level, because that's how that group is to look at it. And then again, in addition, your regional planning staff does review it for alignment with the comprehensive plan as well, and that's provided in a comment letter. And they are tasked with helping us outline what regional studies we should be conducting in the program, and serving as that public forum for discussion of important issues within the center region. The items that they're tasked with by agreement are before you on the screen. I won't read them. I just wanted to make sure that those were with you in the packet. It covers a lot of those items I've already mentioned, those items of regional significance, and those requests to expand the growth boundary. Sustainability is something that is also housed within the Regional Planning Agency, so I wanted to make sure that I brought that up to make sure everybody's on the same page, that those efforts are housed within the Regional Planning Agency as well. I'm sure many of you have heard about a number of the items. If you're a listener of local radio on your way to work in the morning, you definitely know about the second one up there. The Climate Action and Sustainability Committee is also tasked and supported by this group of staff members. And the real big thing that I'm really excited about are some of our coming partnerships in this I say division of our agency, but it's one person. So the division of this agency, Pam Adams, with support of the MPO and the administrative and all the other different staff members. But we looked at this position as part of that role is to be that regional coordinator of a lot of those efforts. And some of those efforts that are coming are before you on the screen. So we are looking to have an AmeriCorps member help us starting in the fall to increase education and engagement. We do have an intern in sustainability as well this year. A lot of work's been done on the EV readiness subcommittee because we want to make sure that we have appropriate infrastructure in the region to support that. And then a DEP shared energy manager has also been someone that we've been partnering and working on to make sure we're effectively and efficiently using our facilities, and that crosses municipal lines obviously as well. And then there's another one coming about retrofitting rental units, but that one is that one's coming, and we're really excited about that. All right. One other thing I didn't want to leave here without talking about is local planning. This year, we have 3 municipalities using the CRP as their local planning staff. So essentially, it's, we have your version of Christina and her team within our agency for Patton, Half Moon, and Harris Townships. You all know that 2 of those 3 did vote to leave this past year, but tonight in Patton Township will be the reading of the ordinance to rescind that withdrawal and remain in local planning. So moving into next year, we will be providing the local planning services for Patton and Harris, and they've both signified that they would like to remain at the current levels. And that was another discussion we had this morning about making sure that that funding formula works, and it'll be brought before Lucy and Finance in a more finalized fashion on July 11th. So we do everything for that group, for those municipalities, that your in-house staff does. And that's just typically what we've seen. Once a municipality gets to a certain point, they bring those staff members in-house. For a period of time, we had a planner, 100% College Township, in our agency, but then once College was like, okay, we're at 100%, we'll bring them in-house. Makes sense. All right, so I know there's a lot going on this slide. So I know there was some questions out there about how's everyone funded, where's everything coming from? All right, so the MPO, which is shown in purple, is housed within the CRPA. So the positions highlighted in orange are funded partially by the MPO, which is funded in part by municipal shares, but a lot of federal, state funding, county funding, and those are the positions that are focused on, transit, bike, pedestrian, transportation grant specialist. So everyone that is included in there, working on a lot of those federally mandated plans. But then the director, sustainability, office manager, and GIS specialist have portions of their salary split. So I did want to note that a lot of positions within our agency are funded from the county-wide funded wing. Our blue are the ones that are funded purely by municipal shares, but those can be broken down further because the land use planners do have a portion of their salary and benefits funded by those in the local planning program, as also do the GIS specialist, director, and office manager, but they're smaller portions. Essentially, they pay what the service level they're asking for. We do have the refuse and recycling administrator within our agency, has its own budget, self-funding. When Half Moon Harris and Patton reduced their percentages of planning that they were purchasing, a senior planner position did go unfunded in order to not provide an undue burden on the regional program. And I'm not requesting that get refilled in the coming budget. I know it's not typical to show interns and AmeriCorps staff members on here, but I did want to highlight that because we feel it's a great resource in our backyard and something that both sides get valuable experience from and work product. Within the MPO as well, there's somebody that's not shown here that is housed within the county planning agency that also works within the MPO as a transportation planner. All right. That is it for part 1. And Chair, if it pleases you, questions on this half of the presentation with the understanding that the second half is comprehensive plan based.
Yeah, thanks very much. Questions? I'll just start on this end, I guess, and we can go around if it, nothing?
Nothing for me.
Nothing on this?
I just had a question. So where under planning, region-wide, would something like invasive, under like the DEP thing, the invasive, like the spotted lanternflies, as opposed to each municipality trying to spray for it, is that a planning thing that should happen?
We're pretty open for the items that we've taken on the past. We would look for direction from the Lucy Committee. That's the COG committee tasked with providing us, we'll call it programmatic guidance. so they know we have limited resources, and we'll look to them to say, where are your priorities? I mean, you know, the sustainability of agriculture has been called out from our committee. I don't think that would fall under climate action and sustainability. And there were, I know, other officials out there working on a, you know, native tree species list. So that's, and I know that was kind of just amongst municipal staffs when the CRPA land use side wasn't staffed. But like that's something I'm interested in. But again, we take programmatic guidance from Lucy on what we should be working on. So to answer your question directly, I would say it depends. Again, with those core items relating back to the comprehensive plan. And that could be a much longer conversation, but I think the it depends answer is where I want to leave that. But so is that something you're interested in?
I mean, I know with spongy moth and lanternflies and all these invasive species, I'm just curious if a regional approach isn't something that might be considered. Anyway, yes, so to answer your question, yes, I'm interested in that.
Okay. And so that would be a conversation that we can have kind of internal over at COG to see where we can come up with the initial thoughts of that. Because yeah.
Anything else, Patty?
No,
I'd
that's
offer in there too, I think that's a good conversation for the climate committee to have and see what the appetite is there for pursuing anything. I think that'd be interesting.
Perfect. Thank you.
Questions from planning commission?
No. Learned a lot, thank you. One comment with regard to regulatory consistency. And you mentioned that there is a center region role in trying to achieve that. I'm all in favor of that. I think that there are a lot of support, there's a lot of data to support from certainly the development community. They'd like to see a lot more consistency between all of the region partners. But I guess, and I don't have an answer for this, but the key to success of regulatory consistency in my mind is how you go about it. It's not whether it's good or it's bad, or who's in favor and who's not, but the process of doing that. And it's my impression that over the years, that's been a very difficult process. And so I would prefer that we not have an issue to try and achieve regulatory consistency, but rather have regulatory consistency be an active goal so that when a situation comes up, we can apply it. And my sense is that we don't have that. And so then the item becomes a hot button item between municipalities, and the real issue of developing that consistency kind of gets caught up in the minutia of all of the hows. And so it would be my hope that in addressing regulatory consistency, that we, you all, us, whomever, develop the how we're going to achieve that kind of goal before we have the actions that we have to take to rule on it.
Perfect. Thank you. And I think that is something we obviously want to focus on with the comprehensive plan aspect of this, outlining metrics and implementable actions to take. So point noted. Yeah. Thank you.
And Shannon, anything? No? Okay.
Thank you, Bess.
And then I'll look to the screen with Mr. John Trant, our interim planning director, and ask if you had any comments or questions. I'm going to take that as a no. Okay.
Oh, you just done.
think
Oh,
I heard
okay.
my name, but I'm having trouble hearing unless Mike is speaking, so I'm not sure I heard what you said.
Understood. Okay, so we will, were you able to hear the presentation, though?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Great, so just wanted to see if you had any comments or any questions.
No, not right now, thank you.
Great, thank you. And I only had a couple of things. I'll go back to, I guess I'll start with Bill's comment on the regulatory consistency, and you said most of my comment, which was, I think, that gets into the comprehensive plan too, and we just had a Lucy meeting where we were reviewing a lot of that, and your comment really goes to the complexity of trying to acknowledge the uniqueness of the different municipalities trying to work together, and so I think we'll get into that. So, you know, while you can have some regulatory consistency, it's also acknowledging where there just won't be. And so I think, you know, and supporting that. And then I guess one other comment just about regional planning too would be, I know in the past, some discussions have been had about just trying to make sure we're not duplicating efforts of in-house planners. And so the one example I was just thinking of off the top of my head was model ordinances. So if there, you know, there's been energy spent on creating model ordinances in the past, and sometimes some other municipality will already have one, and so an ordinance speaking to what. So I think that's maybe even something the Lucy Committee can look at in the work plan, and just, you know, keeping that in mind that you know, we want to use the resources we have in CRPA wisely, and so knowing, you know, it's all limited, and so just, you know, getting the most out of that we can. And then the last thing I would say, thanks for putting the interns on there. I think that's great. I mean, they contribute a lot. It's an important part of the program. And as we went through, you know, kind of, you know, hiring and all this stuff, the Lucy Committee and maybe even on executive last year, we were talking a lot about using this agency as really a kind of a growth area, so you can bring on, you know, a recent grad with a planning degree or a community development degree into a planning position, and so that they can grow from there and get that experience. And yes, they might move on, but CRPA had the potential to really, you know, kind of nurture that development of new planners just coming out of college. So I think that's fantastic. So thanks for highlighting that.
Absolutely, and I know in previous places, temporary planners were where our planner ones came from. We got them in the door, they liked it, and they wanted to stick around. And same thing with this, from this area. If they move out of the center region, how are we going to get them back in 5 years? Let's keep them here in the meantime.
Yeah. Yeah, and just, you know, having the university here, and we talked even about expanding conversations with other, you know, smaller universities, you know, outside of Center County, even just trying to bring them in and encourage them to get their first years of experience here, knowing they might move on, but you know, just offering that. So I think that's fantastic that that's moving forward. And that's all I had. I'll see if anyone else had anything before we ask Mike to continue. Okay.
All right, thank you, everyone. All right, and to John's point, no one's ever said they have a problem not hearing me, so. All right, so moving on. We are at part 2. The update that is underway for the comprehensive regional plan for the center region. And this update is looking to set the vision heading to 2045. So for those unfamiliar, what's a comprehensive plan? Well, the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, known as the MPC, tasks planning commissions with the preparation of a comprehensive plan that, in summary, is the plan for the long-term growth, development, and well-being of the subject jurisdiction. The plan is intended to assist municipal leaders in decision-making and be that guiding document for the community on a variety of topics, to set that shared community vision I highlighted in the first part. It's to be an articulation of the public interest. Planning commissions move comprehensive plan forwards to governing bodies for their consideration. So why should we participate in a multi-municipal plan? Well, no municipality exists in a vacuum. Many of you were likely in multiple municipalities today. If not today, then over the past week or weekend. I live in the borough, work in Ferguson, went to a meeting in college this morning. I might drive down the weekend to see the llamas in Half Moon on Marengo Road. I'll drive through Patton to get there, and I'm probably at Chick-fil-A once a week in Patton, and so I know I get through all the municipalities within 2 or 3 work days, and I'm sure many of you are the same way. Multi-municipal plan, such as our current one, has many benefits as our big issues cross municipal boundaries. Highlighted that point. Economic development prospects are strengthened in the region by not having that haphazard approach to use locations, and then we can plan for that implementation appropriately. Natural resources don't respect political boundaries either. Outlining areas of protection, connection, and growth are all key to avoiding a fragmented region. Pulling resources for the plan update is fiscally sound, and while implementation efforts should and will be stronger with this staff, when the document is developed and housed in our own regional planning agency with the oversight of CRPC and Lucy. If you do a quick Google search of cost of comprehensive plans, you'll see the city of Pittsburgh, which is about 350, 60,000 last I looked. Their plan is stretched into the millions of dollars. And then again, when you hire outside consultants, sometimes you run into a plug and play model. Every time I go to a planning conference, one of the networking events at night, I'll try to get them talking. Well, how do you make a comprehensive plan for 20 different municipalities in a year? Well, it's plug and play. I think our region is strengthened and better served by having that in-house staff that creates and develops and works to implement those plans. And again, you're pulling resources to do that. Having this comprehensive plan in place also can assist with certain funding opportunities and grants as well. In addition, adopting such a plan can protect municipalities in legal challenges, as it can allow the distribution of land uses over the multi-municipal planning area. It's worth noting that per the MPC, a county is to update their plan every 10 years, and a municipality or group of municipalities shall review their plan every 10 years. So where have we been? I spoke about the history of regional planning in the area, but comprehensive plans have also been completed in 76, 90, 2000, and 2013. The status of our current plan was adopted in 2013 by each municipality. The 10-year review was conducted at the proper time and resulted in a determination that an update was necessary, hence why we're at where we're at today. The current plan outlines themes and policy decisions and is organized by plan elements that have accompanying goals, objectives, and policies. What have we heard? Well, that the plan is a little too prescriptive, goes into that granular level on each desired action, and it's structured in silos. So housing's in a silo, transportation's in a silo, and so forth. Lucy, CRPC, and previous staff said, this isn't a great approach because land use affects transportation, vice versa, and we exist in systems than silos. So we wanted to look at addressing our issues from multiple angles, and that living in the reality that they are interconnected, and showing that in our next plan. We've also heard that the final document's not utilized enough. We've heard that the CHIP, again, needs to be front and center when the work plan is created for the regional planning agency. In my interview for this position, it was made clear to me that this plan also can't be just 6 plans glued together. This needs to be that unified vision for our communities, other than the differences, as the borough doesn't have agriculture, right? There are going to be some differences, but that it is a unified vision for the region. And we've talked about making sure that this is a usable document for both of your entities when you have decisions to make. So a new plan is on the horizon. If you'd like to look at the structure of the plan, Greensboro, North Carolina, you can just Google GSO 2040, and that provides the general structure that's we're looking at utilizing, and not because it's a sister city or close in demographics or anything. It's more just the structure of the plan themselves. And again, it goes into that appropriate level where you'd be able to work on those granular details yourself in-house or within our agency. Building that structure goes through the steps you see before you at the top. It outlines the values. What does our community hold important? That's how we're going to build it on. We're then going to move on to that vision. What does our community aspire to be in 2045? What are our common touch points? And then creating a number of big ideas that are extracted from that vision and value. Greensboro had 6, and then each of those 6 had 2 or 3 goals, and then some similar strategies underneath there, how to implement those. And part of that chip would be highlighting which ones are priorities over the next year or 2, being that this plan would be in place for the next 10 years. The items highlighted in green here before you are the MPC's requirements of a comprehensive plan, and I won't read those. They're, land use plan and certain other things, so you'll have that in your packet. We feel that these requirements can be incorporated into that structure so that we will be able to meet those Pennsylvania requirements in the desired plan format. There are a number of optional items as well, which is one of our future discussions with the committee structure and staff to see which ones would be most applicable to include. So how are we going to get there? Well, we're looking at a 5-phase approach. What is our major goal? Getting it done before the next round of municipal elections. We do not want to change horses in the middle of creation of this. We've all seen that happen in other places and on other projects, and we do not want to do that. So our end goal is adoption in the 3rd quarter of 2025. We have a phased approach that obviously has some overlap as we go through there. But that first phase is formation, where we'll look at building that framework, values and vision. We anticipate that taking to the end of the year. Phase 2, building those big ideas through different public outreach efforts, confirming that values and vision, analyzing best efforts for implementation. Phase 3, focusing on those options, those big ideas, how we're going to look at growth, how we're going to create those goals and strategies, what's going to work best, what are our priorities that work going into the beginning to mid of 25. Phase 4 up there is having that final draft document that will be sent to you all for your review and feedback. And then our 5th phase, adoption of the plan, where the public hearings will be held with adoption in each municipality in that 3rd quarter. The outreach and engagement, it's got to be widespread to have that document that can be trusted and relied upon. So we are working on a project website that'll have the frequently asked questions. That'll be a great resource to you. That'll have a survey and input map on there as well. We will launch that before the end of the month. Keep that open till October, so we're gathering feedback. Lucy and CRPC were instrumental in the creation of that survey. And Steve will be our in-house keeper of the responses coming in, and we're excited about the input that we'll gather from there. But we can't just have it done that manner. We hope to have other open houses and focus groups, and we're taking a draft of that schedule to Lucy and CRPC in July. We'll be back before your planning commission and or your board of supervisors as you deem fit, as we go through each of these major stages. The next anticipated time would be before you, would be after the survey is closed, so we can start showing you the data and say, here's what we're hearing from the values and vision, what do y'all think? That's our next time we plan to be before you in that capacity. Now, Lucy and CRPC are serving as your steering committee for this effort going forward, and I promised them most likely a meeting a month till we get this done, so that they are integral as we're moving forward. And again, a monthly meeting helps keep everyone accountable that we will meet this deadline. So you've heard me say "we" quite a bit tonight, and that's how we've got to view this plan. Public at the most important point of it. Meeting with our community groups. We've already had 2 great meetings with CBICC. Another discussion with them this morning. Another one planned. Just an example of the groups we want to make sure that we're aligning certain efforts, because CBICC, they have an economic development strategy report that's going to be launched this year. So we want to make sure our items that focus on economic development are in line with them, and that we could obviously have shared implementation efforts or be working collectively on that as we move forward. Penn State is a major participant as well. We've been working with the campus planner on when we'll quote-unquote table on campus and meet with certain different student groups. With that, we are two-thirds of the way through our kickoff meetings with Harrison Half Moon following. It was CRPC's and Lucy's vision, and totally agree with it, that we meet with all of you in this capacity before that major public outreach effort takes place. With that, I will stop talking, and then at the end of your questions, we do have a question for you.
Thank you. Let's start with Planning Commission. If you had some questions, let's start with Shannon. Comments or questions?
I currently don't have any questions right now.
Well, like it or not, we'll be before you every month, so I'm looking forward to working with you.
I might have some by then.
Oh, absolutely.
Eventually, I know I will, but I don't have any right now.
I've managed to live through 3 of these. I'm old.
You're seasoned. You're seasoned.
And each one has had a different kind of emphasis to get to whatever that end goal was. I know the biggest struggle that we have tended to have in all of 3 of them before was on the input side of this world, especially when it comes to not the municipalities, but rather the resident citizens, and the different sectors that we have within that resident sector population. And staff, and when I say staff, I'm talking mostly your staff, historically has really had to struggle with getting that kind of input, because that's the group that has the least amount of organization to it. And I think as you approach this, trying to, well, there's a saying that doing the same thing over and over again doesn't necessarily guarantee a better result. And I'm kind of saying to you with nudge that we need to try and engage our public environment differently than historically has been done. Don't necessarily ask me how, but I think we need to brainstorm about that. And one of the most difficult things is actually getting that face-to-face interaction, as opposed to surveys. Surveys mean that somebody writes the question, writes the option, and it doesn't spur any kind of conversation. But at least at this point, it would be my hope that we could have that whole development community kind of thing, and the nature of the work that they do. He could probably free up a whole hour of his employees' time to have such a conversation right there in his own office complex. And again, I see that as things that are different than what we did in the past, and expecting a different outcome.
And so what I think I'm hearing too is that we'll hear more on the outreach when we're all done. And so I know Lucy had looked at a list of possible places, and maybe you'll be talking about the online.
Yeah, we have an opportunity like we've never had before. So, with the internet, we have so much better ways of reaching out to your average citizen. I know I'm someone at the evening, I don't like to go out to meetings when I get home from work, but I can go to a website. We're going to have a project website that's going to educate people on what the comp plan is, why it's important for them, discuss the different issues. That will link out to a survey that they'll be able to take electronically at their own pace, convenience. They'll be able to put points on a map that, you know, they can highlight issues that are important to them, leave comments about it. So I think you're gonna see that the outreach this time around is gonna be much greater than it was in surveys past. We did something similar for the active transportation plan, and I forget how long that survey was open, but we got 400 survey respondents online. I think over 350 public input on our input map. I see this being, I mean, 4 or 5 times that number. The comp plan is just that much more involved, and I think it's gonna be a huge part of our outreach.
And we thought about other efforts as in, you know, I don't know if it would be James starring in it, or which one of us, you know, a quick YouTube video about how to talk to your community group about the comprehensive plan. And I know Pam's group did the meeting in a binders, so had different pictures of different developments, and then they'd record their thoughts and then submit it to us as that community group. Because we know we want to have those conversations, but we're not going to be able to meet with every single person and group. So we want to make sure we are still giving an option and an avenue to do that as that collective group.
I think that's a great point, and that kind of captures what Bill was saying too about the maybe the offline conversations and comments you receive. So having some mechanism to capture that, because there's a lot that won't be, you know, raise your hand, go up to the podium, say your piece, and you're recording it. But I think you'll get a lot of that kind of extracurricular comment that, you know, will be interesting and inform the survey. So I'll go to John Trant again, if you want to offer some comment, ask some questions.
Yeah, so I just have one question right now. Looking at, I think on the prior slide or 2 slides ago, you had the MPC elements you're gonna focus on. Do you guys have like a schedule of when you anticipate focusing on those items? Because we were envisioning that we would work with the Planning Commission at our workshop meetings to drill down and get some Ferguson specific information that we could then provide to our reps on Lucy and the CRPC to help feed into the process. But I wanted to make sure that the timing of those discussions with our Planning Commission lined up with when you're going to talk about those elements, the land use plan, for example, or any of those elements.
John, we do have a more detailed Excel document, but we don't exactly have each and every one of those highlighted on there. I think that's a good conversation for us to have within CRPA, and then let's chat further. And I'm sure I can get your exact contact information from Ferguson staff here, so we can make sure that they're lining up with your workshop. So the answer is not yet. It's something we want to work on and be able to provide so that you're having efficient use of your workshops. Absolutely.
Okay, that sounds great. We're ready. We can start next month. I know you've got an aggressive schedule, so if you let us know what makes the most sense in terms of topics and timing, we'll hold that in.
Perfect. Thank you, John.
Thanks. And as the Lucy member, I'll say that's going to be extremely helpful, having the Planning Commission input and the planning staff input. And that did make me think of something. I don't know if you're going to talk about the survey specifics at all, or if you shared that out, but I'll just say quickly first, we spent a lot of time on this survey. It came back to Lucy Committee a couple of times with suggestions. You know, it's not very often that you conduct this great big survey, so you do want to capture a lot of information, but you don't want to turn people away from completing it. So there was a lot that went into this. Was this shared with the planning directors?
It was shared with the planning staff members and directors that usually participate in our Wednesday workshops.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah.
I know Christina went through our workshop with the first draft. The most
Great.
recent version, I did not share it with John, if I'm getting to the root of your question.
No, well, either just in general, and yeah. So
Yeah, it is
that's-
shared with the
that's
municipal
great.
planning staffs, yes.
Yeah, that's great. And I don't think that there was enough like substantial change with this last
No.
revision that it would need to go back out to them, but just to make sure that they all felt like the information they needed was getting captured in the survey. So that really answers that question.
Perfect. And you know, for some of those questions, we worked with topic-specific groups, environmental, PAM, CBICC for economic development. And I guess for the good of the group, if I may.
Yeah.
This survey, you know, there was great discussion around, well, if you're gonna give everybody a 40, half an hour, minute survey, they're gonna get turned off. Well, it's now a tiered survey. So we'll have a group of core questions with the demographics up front, and then there's different boxes on different topics to open it up. So we are at the least getting information from hopefully everyone on tier 1. And then we hope everyone in this room and those listening go and do tier 2 as well, knowing that we might only have them for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I thought that was such a great idea.
Yeah.
So you really can capture, you know, as much as somebody is willing to give, but you've also got those people who are just literally stopping by a booth and, you know, and maybe they're grabbing the paper copy and just filling out the bare minimum. So
Everything we do for that survey, if I might add, we make it easily to use on the phone.
oh,
On the phone. So
Yeah.
everything we do easily
Right.
usable on the phone.
right, okay.
Mike, for the folks that don't have computers, would they be able to do a hard copy version, or they are expected to participate through the in-person forums?
Obviously, electronic is our preferred method, but we will have paper copies at locations such as the library, our offices. We'll leave a few in the municipal buildings as well, have them with us. The survey will be, yes, it will have a paper component. But the more paper versions that if we have out there, the more staff time that takes to input them in with the electronics. So I think electronic preferred, but obviously if there's someone that's not able or prefers, paper's okay.
Mike, did you get a chance to send the survey questions to the managers? I'm not sure that I saw it, but maybe I missed it. So
No,
if you could,
it has not. I
will
can
you
send the
circulate
final
it to
draft.
us? That
Yep.
would, yeah, I think that would be really good. Thank you. And then I'll also share with you too, while we just got awarded maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were notified that we received funding for the Appalachia Regional Commission. So we'll be also putting together a strategic master plan for economic development, growth, and innovation. And so as part of our ad hoc committee, we'll have a CBICC representative as well participating and a Penn State representative. So we will want to kind of connect. You and I can talk offline a little bit more about how we, you know, ensure that there's that communication as this is being developed.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
We are excited. Thank you.
If there wasn't anything else, that might lead to the outreach and engagement.
Yes, Jenna?
Ms. Strickland has already heard my spiel, but we have a list of events and groups compiled from internal staff. Obviously, we cannot get to every single one of them, so we will be looking at all of the big events, the ones that will really make a difference for us to be present at. You'll see restaurants, you'll see the environmental list is not included on here. We have a separate list from Pam that we are utilizing for that, but anyone that isn't listed, any event going on in your community that we don't have zoning officers, special events permits, we would like to know those things. It is 20 times easier to piggyback off of existing events. They already have a pretty significant gathering and a group coming out to that. So we really want to be making sure that we are hitting every single one in each municipality. So if we're missing something, please let us know. We will send this list out to staff to circulate with the board and planning commission, ABCs, whoever they see fit for these events, and any additional ones can be sent back to me. Okay.
Do you happen to have that list to share on the screen right now? And I know we added,
Do you have it?
I had a couple of, it's okay if you don't, I know you're gonna send it out, but.
It's on the
I just
OneDrive if you
thought
can.
while we were all here,
Is that the list that you guys shared with us at the CRPC?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
and I had a few suggestions, but I knew I was really gonna lean heavily on everybody else to to fill that up. So I just thought it'd be a good opportunity for us all to look together. But if you don't have it, it's fine. Everyone can kind of look at it and submit their things. I know I added on a few. I was looking for my notes, but I guess I don't have what.
It would seem to me that with further discussion, Ferguson Township might want to host a municipal manager dunk tank and advertise it, and you know, we could have signs and people out on the street and so on with signs like they do for car washes, and you would get a ball if you provided data. Okay, and
I don't know if that needs to be limited to the manager. I think commission members. I think anyone who came up with the idea.
Jeff does have a reputation.
Don't
We've
your
had the dunk
supervisor
tank in
might
here before,
even-
so in the parking lot. Oh, fantastic! Thank you. I know I added Baileyville Grange, and so there's the Farmers Market, Pine Grove Hall, Baileyville Grange, Ag Progress Days. Is that Hops and Hymns?
Yep.
Happy Valley Winery. Boy, this is the read the bottom line test that
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
experiencing. I'm gonna give up now. I got halfway through.
Hops and Hymns, Happy Valley Winery, American Legion, AccuWeather, Harner Farm, Lions Club, VFW, Sweets and Swifts, Shavers Creek, JL Cidery, SPRA Pool, Coffee and Conversations, HOA Forum Meeting. And again, all of these might not be places we have that full table and open house. Some of these might be talk to the front desk staff, the manager, and see if we can, have a flyer, have a, our QR code, quarter sheet handout there. I was in Collier Township a few weekends ago on a bike trail. I went by their trailhead and there's a QR code to look at their comprehensive plan. So I'm commenting on a Collier Township comprehensive plan because I was on their bike trail and saw a flyer, right? Maybe I'm not a typical person, but it's something.
That's great. And you added, I see everything I suggested, so.
We wouldn't leave those out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it's looking good.
It looks great. I would add, we're scheduling a municipal mixer, so I think the information will go live on our webpage next week, July 31st. And then there's also, as you may know, the parks host several different sport tournaments. And I would also consider the Teener League as well. There are tournaments that are being hosted, I think currently is, and into the summer, so.
Well, and just, working together with Parks and Rec, CRPR, and Little League, because this will still be open in the fall, when the fall Little League starts up. So, you've got a bunch of people just sitting in folding chairs, bored.
Nothing to do.
Nothing to do, but
We're shooting for the last Friday of the month. So let me pull that up.
I would suggest that you change the Baileyville Grange to the Baileyville Community Hall as your listing. And then it's the community hall that hosts events at that site. And the Grange is only a tenant.
Ah, got ya.
The community hall can probably inform and get it to the Grange as well, right?
What?
Can the community hall send it to, the information to the Grange members?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That is all from us today, unless you have anything else you'd like. Look forward to being back for you all again as this progresses, and can't thank you all enough for your time and attention today.
Thanks very much for coming, for bringing everybody with you and taking this time to really, not only the comprehensive plan, but just regional planning in general. I think it's really helpful for all of us, and to be face to face and all together when we work on the same things, but never in the same room. So this is fantastic. So I really, really appreciate it. Anything else? for Mike before he sits down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And anything else before I go to calendar items? Not seen anything. There were a number of items listed here. And if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And I will second, and we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.